Hi, my name is Bill Marler. I'm a partner at Marler Clark, the food safety law firm, and I'm the proud publisher of Food Safety News. Boar's Head is a really it's a sad outbreak. It's one that shouldn't have happened. There have been examples of similar kinds of outbreaks that have occurred, and if you look at the inspection reports done by FSIS over the 2-year period before the outbreak, the plant was in bad shape and really out of control. 61 people have gotten sick. There have been 10 deaths, mostly on the East Coast, although there's been some illnesses as far west as New Mexico. The plant, as I said, was in really bad shape. And I said to one person, they probably were better at manufacturing listeria than they were at making food fit for human consumption. But it's not just Boar's Head that's I think is under scrutiny. It's the FSIS inspectors, and why that information that was clearly being written down and seen, why that didn't make its way up to the upper echelons of FSIS for decision making, which would have included pulling inspectors and shutting the plant down. As it relates to accountability, the civil justice system, is in full swing. I've filed multiple lawsuits against Boar's Head. Most of those have been in the Eastern District of Virginia, which is also affectionately known to lawyers as the rocket docket, because courts really push cases along quite quickly. I think also it's highly likely that the U.S. Attorney's Office is investigating Boar's Head because what happened in the outbreak and how the plant was operating is in clear violation of the Federal Meat Inspection Act, and I think criminal sanctions are likely to come. On top of that, the Office of Inspector General is investigating what FSIS was doing, and or more importantly, what they weren't doing. And so I think there's some opportunities here for some real insight into what happened in this outbreak and what we can do to prevent it in the future. It's pretty similar to many of the Listeria outbreaks that occur. Most of the time, the Listeria has, almost 95 to 100% hospitalization. And, in part, it's because Listeria is a pretty nasty bug. It's got a death rate that, can hover between 10 and 20%. So, it's a pretty serious, pathogen. It's one that, that's why we have zero tolerance for it in ready-to-eat products. But the other thing too that's important is we're missing a lot of people who are otherwise part of this outbreak. Otherwise healthy people, don't get so sick to go to the hospital and require, a blood test or a spinal fluid test, which is the gold standard to find Listeria. Listeria is not easily isolated out of stool, so a lot of the illnesses that have occurred are never going to be counted because they look a lot like other foodborne illnesses, and they're not going to be counted in the body count. And so I think that's one of the things that happens. But I was involved in the Listeria outbreak linked to cantaloupe from 2011. 148 people were sick there, and 33 people died. And so we've seen outbreaks like this. I've consulted with lawyers in South Africa. 1,000 people were sick and 200 died, mostly children. So Listeria in ready-to-eat meat products, it was a well-known problem. There have been outbreaks linked to that before in the U.S. and in Canada, in South Africa. This never should have happened in the U.S. in 2024. I think there really aren't a lot of changes. The regulations are pretty clear. And I think the only thing that I would probably expect to see is, the Boar's Head facility had a HACCP program to, eliminate listeria risk. And clearly, they weren't following their guidelines. They weren't doing what they were supposed to do. Many companies in the similar situation not only have a great HACCP program, but they also do some interventions at the end of the product line to make sure that the product is free from listeria. And there's chemical solutions and heating solutions that happen, post production that could be used. And I think, companies have a choice to do that, and FSIS gives them some flexibility. It may be that because this plant was run so poorly, that this was inevitably going to happen, but they also had no backup plan to make sure the product, when it left their factory, was free from listeria.